And she thought I needed to do something else besides work in a department store, that I was wasting my college education. And I said, but I love working with people. I love this job. She said, no, you got to go sign up with Boeing. I said, what's a Boeing? I didn't know what a Boeing. She said, if you go to the post office, they've got the applications right there in the envelopes, and all you have to do is fill it out and send it in. So I went there just because I was sick of her nagging me. Well, you know. And she double dog dared me, and you don't double dog dare me. I don't. Maybe single dog, but not double. And so I went and got the application. I brought it back and I waved it in her face, and I filled it out and I mailed it in. And I said, nothing's going to happen, because what are they going to do with a brown girdle buyer? And 4 days later, a lady called me and said she wanted me to come to Boeing to be interviewed, and that was in Seattle. And that building that I went to is now, I believe, the Seattle Art Museum. But that was a building where we went to be interviewed, and I thought, okay, I'll come on my day off. So I rode 2 buses to get to Seattle and went in there, and there were 3 or 4 ladies sitting way over on the side, and everything else was just huge amount of men. So I went over and I sat with the ladies over at the corner, and I said, why would they call me? And I told the ladies what I did for a living. And we all laughed. Anyway, I went up and interviewed. She hired me on the spot and told me I would be earning almost 3 times what I was earning at the department store. Okay, I'm greedy. And I said, okay, and in 2 weeks, I rode 2 buses into Seattle and went to work for the missile division. And
what year was all this?
1967, 68, something like that. Yeah. And they said, I went in, and my boss at the time said, okay, you're a buyer, you're going to be buying stuff, and introduced me to a group of gentlemen there that were doing the buying, and they put me off on one desk, and they said, this is the stuff you're going to be buying. And I was buying nuts and bolts and sheets of titanium and all kinds of things. And so I did that. And then within just, oh gosh, 6, 8 months, they came to me and said, we need you to go to work in Everett. I said, I'm now riding 2 buses. I live in Tacoma. You want me to go to... Well, we've got a really good job for you up there. It's a new airplane, and we need you up there. So I said, well, I'll try it. We'll see. I rode 3 buses up there and went in this building, big building, huge building. And they showed me where this man's office was, and I went in, and he asked me where I was coming from. I said, Tacoma, and I'm riding buses. He said, no, you're not. Goes outside into the area where his group was, and he says, where's my Tacoma carpool? And they raised their hands in the back. He said, you got room for one more? They said, sure. From then on, I went home with them, and every morning I came in with them, and I enjoyed it no end. I thought this was wonderful, and I really liked working with them. And that was good money. I liked that money. And then one day, one of the fellas at lunch told me how much engineers made. Well, I said, that's a lot of money. That's more than I'm making. And I'm greedy. And I said, okay, we'll go back to school. What do you have to do to be an engineer? Okay. Well, Boeing had some smart people in their group that had 2 colleges up there, Edmonds Community College and Everett Community College, and they had it all laid out. If you want to be an engineer, here's the courses you take. So I started riding a bus at night, and I moved up there, and I started riding a bus to class and riding the bus home. And I did that for 2 years. And then one of my cohorts in the group I was in decided she wanted to go back and get her engineering, so she had a car. So I rode with her because I didn't have a car. And I rode with her, and it took me 3 years to get my engineering. And once I got my engineering, they transferred me right into an engineering group. And I worked on what they called, what you now know as a 747. And that was cool. I really enjoyed that no end. That was good, and the people I worked with were really enjoyable.
What was it like to be a woman in that era, working in a huge company like that? It was dominated by men.
Oh yeah. And of course my funny story is when they moved us to the 4083 building, there was no ladies' room. And I called up one of the gals I knew in the executive office. Can't remember if it was Marge or Madge. She was just a sweetie. It turned out she was Mr. Sutter's secretary, and he was the one that was in charge of the 747. I didn't know that at the time. And I asked her, I said, we have to go to 2 buildings away to get to a ladies' room. She said, I won't tell you what words she used, but she said, you'll have a ladies' room tomorrow. And sure enough, well, when we left, the carpenters were there and the plumbers were there. Boeing has all their own carpenters and plumbers. And my friend looked at me and said, I think you're going to have a ladies' room tomorrow. And I said, let's hope so. And sure enough, the next morning we walked in and there were hand-painted little signs that said ladies' room with an arrow, ladies' room with an arrow. And so one of the gals said, I'm going to go call the gal that you said put this together. So she did. And we waited for her, and she came running down the hall, and she said, is there one here? And I said, that's what the sign says. So we ran down the hall, walked in. It was wonderful. They had a ladies' room there. They had sofa and a table and some chairs. And oh, it was really nice. So we could even eat our lunch in there if we wanted to. Yeah, they couldn't have been nicer or more accommodating. They caught on quick. You didn't have to ask them 14 times to do something. So